Welcome back to Scary Urban Legends. We are back with yet another state for you guys. We love doing the states, so keep the recommendations coming. From the 7 gates to see hell to the most haunted cemeteries in all of America, Illinois is not just known for their high homicide rates. I'm your host Andrew, and here are your top 10 Illinois Scary Urban Legends. At a number 10 spot, we have the 7 gates to hell. In the rural town of Collinsville, Illinois, they have what is known as the 7 gates to hell, which follows this twisting and turning back roads. The gates were formed by these old trestle bridges built back in the early 1800s, passing over the roadways that allowed trains to go over the area. Many stories, none of them good, come from these gates, ranging from satanic rituals to homicides to even paranormal activity. Legend says that there are 2 ways to experience the gates to hell. The first is that you might drive through each of the gates from order 1 through 7. If you want to open the portal to hell, you need to pass through the 7th gate at midnight, where you will be met with hellhounds that will drag you into hell. The second way is that you drive in reverse through the gates, starting from 7 all the way down to number 1. It's said that if you do this and look at your rear view mirror, you will see a tear in reality and see hell firsthand. At a number 9 spot, we have Hull House Devil Baby. In 1889, the Hull House was founded by Jane Addams and Ellen Gates Starr. This is also the first settlement house in all of Chicago. It didn't take long until many people showed up to the house and praised it to a point where people began naming it the best settlement house in all of America. The structure stands to this day, but this house has a lesser known story of a devil baby. In 1913, one night a baby was left abandoned at the steps of the Hull House. It was possibly a severely deformed baby. Jane Addams would take the baby in as she basically had no other choice, but in the following weeks mass hysteria would consume the house fairly quickly. This was because word broke out of this baby looking as if it was devil spawn. People came in the thousands and wanted to catch a glimpse of this devil baby. Unfortunately, shortly after, the baby would pass away, but it is said that if you look up at the window where the baby had passed away, you can see the face of a devil looking back right at you. At number 8 spot, we have Homie the Clown. In Illinois during the 1990s, there was a clown going by the name of Homie who was spotted going through the streets to lure children into a sketchy van. If you've seen the free candy van meme, this is the unofficial origin story. His name originated from a beloved clown character in the early 90s sketch comedy show named In Living Color, who would be this ex-convict who would carry a sock for rebellious children. Except for this clown, children would not get a sock for punishment, but would get something way more sinister, way more brutal. Eventually the police would be involved, but would be very skeptical about a killer kidnapping clown. Homie the Clown would eventually fizzle out of existence and may still be out there in his van awaiting unsuspecting children. At number 7 spot, we have the MURPHYSBORO Mud Monster. In 1973, a young couple went on a romantic late night drive in the town of Murphysboro, Illinois. Only after a few minutes of driving, they decided to park near a river when all of a sudden they heard a shrieking sound that could only be described as an eagle shrieking into a microphone. They soon scanned the area and heard yet another loud screech. They looked in the direction where it came from and noticed a bush that was shaking. They then saw the mud monster and described it as a 7-foot tall being, thick fur, and a footprint closely resembled that of Bigfoot. This monster soon kept terrorizing the town for weeks, then out of the blue, it disappeared, leaving the town in peace all of a sudden. At number 6 spot, we have the Moon Point Cemetery. Just south of Streator in Livingston County lies this old graveyard named Moon Point Cemetery. It got its name from Jacob Moon, who, along with his daughter and 3 sons, was the first to settle that area. After years of war and other fatal tragedies, this place has been haunted by the ghosts of its past. One of these ghosts include the ghost of a hatchet lady. Legend has it she often visited the cemetery to watch over her son's grave after he passed away during the Civil War. Eventually she would pass away too, but immediately after, her ghost took up the vigil wielding a hatchet. She has been heard yelling or even whispering at visitors to get out of the area, and on a full moon night she is seen throwing hatchets around the cemetery. Other ghosts stuck inside the cemetery include a ghost boy, strange dancing orbs, and the sound of a sarcophagus lid opening. It doesn't help the fact that vandalism is happening at the cemetery, so it's basically confirmed that the spirits are unrested within this place. In the hump of our list, we have ghost elephants. On June 22nd, 1918, a train was heading to Indiana for a performance before they were struck head on with another train that ignored all sorts of warnings. The crash alone was bad, causing many lives to be lost, but it wasn't until a fire broke out as a result of the crash where many more lives were claimed. An estimated total of 85 circus performers lost their lives, making it the second worst circus accident in all of history. The bodies were buried at a nearby cemetery named Woodland Cemetery, and while many bodies were unrecognizable due to the charred remains, they were buried in mass graves with unknown man or unknown woman marked on the graves. At night, visitors of the cemetery claimed to see the apparition of an elephant and the sounds of it before it disappears into the darkness. I mean, just imagine strolling through the cemetery and you encounter a 4-ton, 11 feet tall beast right in front of you. That's probably the most terrifying sight of all. At number 4 spot, we have Lover's Leap. Illinois' Pierre Marquette State Park spans an area of about 8,000 acres, and this includes a cliff area known as Lover's Leap. This cliff overlooks both the Illinois and Mississippi rivers, and if I didn't tell you about this next story, I bet you would have wanted to catch the view, but let me change your mind real quick. The legend goes that an Indian brave and a maiden of another tribe fell in love, despite the fact that both of their tribes absolutely despise one another. The tribes have set up so many walls that they even use starvation as a tactic of war. Because of this divide, the two were forced to stay away from one another, and the chiefs of each tribe forbid them from marrying one another. No exceptions. So just like Romeo and Juliet, the two met up one last time at Lover's Leap and proceeded to jump off the cliff together because they thought if we can't have each other, then no one can. Now couples who go near this cliff have the sudden urge to jump off with their partner even if they come to the area completely happy with no personal issues. All the way at a number 3 spot, we have the Thunderbirds. This legend all started back in 1977 when Ruth Lowe from Lansdale, Illinois was drawn outside by a loud noise coming from her backyard. When she looked, she noticed the area was in complete darkness with something large approaching the ground. Before she could understand what's happening, a massive bird lifted her child a full 2 feet above the ground before letting go and vanishing out of the air. According to Ruth, it was black in color with a white ring around its neck, with wings and a tail that were at least 10 feet long. Basically the Mothman, but on steroids. At a number 2 spot, we have the ghost lady of Kennedy Hill Road. In 1980 on Kennedy Hill Road, people reported seeing a woman in a dress walking around before vanishing into the dark. There are numerous sightings of this person or ghost, but no one could really explain what they saw. Some thought it was the ghost of a woman buried nearby, or some had assumed it was a mentally disabled person who had run away from their home. As more sightings were reported, more details were being released on what the ghost was. One report claimed that the ghost lady was actually a man wearing his late girlfriend's dress, but after this report was made, the ghost was never seen or heard from again. Except now she is said to be back, with new reports claiming that the ghost is still walking in the road, with descriptions of her being very tall, slender, and having long blonde hair. At a number 1 spot, with the Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. This one could very well be the most haunted cemetery in America, with hundreds of reports of paranormal experience, in which many of them are well documented and very credible. Just 25 miles outside of Chicago lies the Bachelor Grove's Woods, and around 1840 the cemetery was only a 1-acre plot of land with a total of 82 graves. Eventually the place was abandoned due to the limited space, but this is when it turned from an innocent graveyard to one of the most terrifying ones. After years of neglect and vandalism, the cemetery started to have more and more hauntings and paranormal activity. When visitors access the cemetery from coming through the woods, they often report seeing the apparition of a dog, a horse, a lady in white, and balls of glowing lights. The most famous grave in this cemetery is marked as the infant daughter. It is usually surrounded by these flowers and toys from those who leave their condolences on the young person. Remember that lady in white I just mentioned? Well, it said that she is the mother of this infant, and that she roams the cemetery still looking for her daughter, as no name ever presented itself on the tombstone. Well, these are the top 10 Illinois scary urban legends. What do you guys think? What state should we cover next? I'm your host Andrew, and I hope you guys have a scary day.